I'm Jacqueline Roche, or as one young gentleman who came and introduced himself in 7-Eleven, referred to me as the girl who shook hands with Bill Nye, which we all know as tech students means I'm pretty much tech school royalty. So I'm actually going to be graduating here in May. Any other class of 2013ers in the house? And I actually just found out a couple days ago that I'm going to be continuing on here as a master's student in the rehab psych program, 9th in the nation. So I'm pretty excited about it. But while I also think that that's an awesome thing to happen to me, I also find it rather confusing. Now in high school, when everyone's getting excited about SATs and ACTs and your teacher's joking around that one of the students is going to have 5 minutes left on the exam and about every question to go and they're going to be filling in bubbles like a madman, well, at least in math, that kid was me. So just to get it out there, I did get a 21 in math, which actually to me, now that I think about it, I'm a couple years out, I got a 21 in bubble filling. Or depending how you want to think about it, I got a 21 in coloring. So you're welcome. You too can do it. So there's something I would actually like to give you today. One of the most intimate things I think one person can give another human being, and that is a piece of themselves. And in my case, in order to give that to you today, I'm going to have to go ahead and take a step back into a Jacqui who no longer exists, but who I know very well. 13 years old, I'm sitting at the kitchen table with one of my best friends. We're chatting away. I remember the windows being open, the sun shining in, the warmth on my face, the way it smelled, the way it tasted. Like I was walking around in a Disney movie, like the birds were going to fly and dress me in the morning. So there I am, and I'm sitting, and I'm relaxing, and in a moment, it was gone. She boomed and came into the room, and all she did was say, "What are you doing? What is this? What are you doing?" It didn't make sense. My heart was in my chest, and in my mouth, it was pouring out of me, and my stomach hurt, and I cramped, and I wasn't sure what to do. I froze. And all I could think about was the time she slammed on the door until 3 a.m. until she broke through. Or the way my face felt as her hand slapped my glasses across the room. Opening my child play chest growing up and finding wine bottles. Or the day I found out one of my best childhood friends had died, and in that same moment she sat me down on the radiator and told me that, also called me just a little word. I was back at the table and I was calm, and all I could think was, this needs to stop, and this needs to stop now. So my friend and I happened to be snacking on a muffin and milk, so those were my only tools to work with in this battle. Next thing I knew, I had the cup of milk in my hand, I looked her right in the eye, and I poured it on my head. She laughed and walked out of the room. It didn't make any sense. 4 years later, I left, fought my way through high school, graduated, found myself at a community college, didn't know what a FAFSA was. And the next thing I knew, I found myself at a seminar for NROTC, full ride scholarship, spilling my guts to a man I had never met, who I know now under the respectful name of Captain Otis, who gave me the chance of a lifetime. There we are. I ate, slept, and breathed that program. It was all I cared about, all I cried about was wanting to be a Marine Corps instructor. The second year I came back, the veil was lifted, disenchantment was stifling. I looked around me and everyone I had wanted to be, everyone I respected, everyone I was like, carbon copy that and make me that good at what they do. I started to see things I didn't like, that I couldn't respect, that I couldn't believe were real. But worse, I watched myself and looked at my thoughts, and I was terrified. And to those of you who were there and know, I'm sorry. The words of an old friend reverberated in my head. You cannot be afraid to give up who you are for who you could be. And so I left. I left that full ride scholarship in the security of this wonderful institution, and I went over to Malcolm X Community College to train as an EMTB, or Emergency Medical Technician Basic. And I have to say, I will never, ever forget the people I met there. From my instructor, Matt, to the bartending Irish woman, Dee, who affectionately referred to me as her little fence jumper. I won't elaborate on my living conditions at the time, but as the nickname suggests, it involved jumping a fence. I also won't forget the man who was a paraplegic and sat there and told me about his life and love of football, or the wife whose husband I watched die on the operating table, or the little girl seizing, her mouth open to scream, but so weak she could not make noise. So I took everything I saw, and I took the kind words and encouragement of a few wonderful people, some of which are in the room here tonight, and I came back to IIT. So that first wonderful semester back, I'm thinking to myself, this is great, food in my mouth, roof over my head. I'm not wondering where I'm going to sleep at night. But how do I keep this going? How can I keep this up without a penny to my name? And it was getting near the end of the semester. I'm making contingency plans B, C, all the way to Z. And it was as simple as me walking into the dorms one day, beeping in, looking up, and there was a poster that said, Leadership Academy Scholarship, full tuition. I didn't even know what it was. I didn't know that I was about to go through a 4-hour rigorous interview process. I didn't know that it was going to put me next to the intelligent, hardworking, passionate, diverse leaders at this school. I didn't know I'd be rubbing shoulders with Sonia Sotomayor at the Chicago Executives Club's breakfast as she told us, you know what? It is not only okay to be smart, it is okay to be smart and pretty. Or John Tracy of Boeing, who sat there and humbled himself before us and let us know about all of his failures so that we could understand his success. From monthly meetings, sophomore leadership retreat, 360s so we could see the view all around us, to being around the people whose hearts and souls are into making this school a better place, are completely in love with it, and everyone in it, I swear it. So I couldn't talk about my time here at IIT without mentioning these fine ladies, the cross-country team. 6:45 every morning, they will literally get up and sweat and bleed with you, and they will ask absolutely nothing in return. I would wake up every morning, walk into the office where we all came together to a receiving line of highs, hellos, good mornings, I love yous, hugs, new shoes occasionally. Runners love new shoes. And they didn't want anything from me. They didn't know anything about me. And so when times have gotten hard for me here in and out of school, they have been a constant reminder to the excellent caliber of person that is right here next to you, right here next to me, that we're not alone. The same semester I ran cross country, I got a phone call. The house I had lived in had been evicted. My best friend drove me down there that night, and it had rained the night before. So when I got out of the car, I couldn't believe what I saw. It was just a complete cemetery of my old life. From pictures to childhood projects to broken furniture just laid out across me. But as I walked around, I realized I didn't really get sad. Even though I saw these things and they were broken, and at one time they were everything to me, I realized I had already created everything I needed and put it right inside of me and had been carrying it with me the entire time. So by the time I was introduced to this physical destruction of my old life, it was more of a museum of artifacts of a life I had once lived, but was now over. So my final year here at IIT, I've had the honor and pleasure of being a resident advisor over in South State Street Village. I don't think anything could have possibly prepared me or my fellow RAs for what this job really has to offer at this school. I would like to take just a moment and point out a word, maybe call out my fellow peers and myself all in one take. The word diversity. When you hear the word diversity, what do you think? Because I think marketing, publicizing, you're trying to impress someone, get them on a bandwagon, you're writing a brochure. But you know, when I think about it, you know where my friends are from? Brazil, India, Malaysia, Ethiopia, Palestine, Syria, far off and distant lands like Boston. Let me tell you a story about a resident of mine. I came back at 2 a.m. from my first RA round and found a young man sitting on the couch in my lounge. He said that he couldn't sleep, that it was too quiet, that at home it was not quiet, that he had gone to a volleyball game here on campus earlier that day and looked around in awe at the people just innocently laughing. My dear friend is from Aleppo, Syria, dealing with what so many students here at IIT are. Their homes, where they come from, where they were born and raised, are war-torn. Their families are not safe and their futures are not secure, but they are brought here under the peaceful banner of academia in order to try and change that. Here, IIT, and when I say IIT, I'm not talking about Crown Hall or MSV or any of the academic rooms. I'm talking about you and I'm talking about me. Their IIT experience, my IIT experience is you. At the chance of sounding kind of cheesy, I'm going to go ahead and quote Bill Nye. We have the chance to, dare I say it, change the world. We can change the world. A few weeks ago, a professor of mine spoke about fairy tales and how they're not just for children. Children know the world is a bright and beautiful place full of possibility. It's adults who need to remember and really dig into each moment of every day for that beauty. And write your own story. And one day, when the world needs it, to share it. Thank you for listening.